distant battlefields preserved by history, but in areas where the war was at its most brutal and where the fighting continues to persist. Officials in Russian-conquered parts of eastern Ukraine reportedly are building tours designed to bring visitors into the Donetsk region. They basically plan to take the tourists to what they call key points of military glory, quote-unquote, hoping the influx of visitors can boost the local economy. And this is the same region that witnessed brutal months-long combat around Bakhmut, a town reduced to rubble and symbolizing staggering losses on both sides. The region, remember, is also home to Mariupol, the port city devastated by relentless bombing in 2022. What these tours would include and how security would be guaranteed remains unclear. The project is part of a wider Russian national plan to expand tourism and hospitality. Local officials saying roughly 1 billion rubles will go towards repairing hotels and restoring key infrastructure across Donetsk. Earlier in May, the Russian president called the broader Donbas area fertile ground for tourism and urged businesses to invest. In Mariupol, the mayor predicts the city could eventually draw 1 million tourists a year by 2030. Even as he acknowledges massive gaps in transportation, utilities, housing, the city's drama theatre destroyed during the war and the site of heavy civilian casualties is now scheduled to reopen with performances over the New Year period, reportedly. But Russia is not alone. In Ukraine, dark tourism operators offering trips to war-torn areas, reportedly, most travelers come from Europe and the United States, paying anywhere from a small amount to several thousand euros for multi-day visits closer to the front lines. The question still is, can a place still in the grip of war safely become a tourist attraction? India has fired another giant into space. ISRO's powerful rocket lifted off flawlessly, carrying its heaviest satellite yet. As others stumble, India is quietly mastering what many still call the toughest science on Earth. The ISRO chief spoke to WION, hailing the success. Our next report getting you the complete story.
Thunderous roar, a trail of fire.
Bluebird Block 2 mission, a majestic liftoff. The rocket is beautifully searing through the bright Sriharikota sky.
And the heaviest satellite launch from Indian soil, the Bluebird Block 2, is now orbiting Earth.
S-200 boosters प्रज्वलित हैं.
In a flawless pre-dawn launch, the Indian Space Research Organization's LVM-3 rocket blasted off from Sriharikota, propelling payload into low Earth orbit. It's a triumph not just of engineering but of persistence. Speaking to WION, ISRO chief says the Bahubali rocket is capable of lifting 9200 kg.
9th successive mission of LVM-3 rocket. And today we have lifted the heaviest satellite from Indian soil using Indian launcher, 5,900 kg, close to 6,000 kg we have lifted. And this rocket, this mission, we have also brought some new developments for enhancing the payload capability, something around 150 to 200 kg payload capability. And for accomplishing the Gaganyaan mission, we have to have a capability close to more than 9,000 kg. And this gives additional margin. Already we have the capability. This gives additional margin. Of course, for the Gaganyaan, we are going to induct C-32 stage also.
Bluebird Block 2 weighs 6,100 kilograms, making the largest ever commercial communications satellite to be deployed in low Earth orbit. The mission marks a fresh milestone in India's space journey and a crucial step towards the country's first crewed flight. But achieving that precision is no small feat. Around the world, rocket failures continue to remind nations that even a small error can spell catastrophe. Japan's latest mission ended in flames just seconds after takeoff. Brazil's long dream of joining the orbital club met another setback when its vehicle crashed shortly after launch. In July, Australia's Gilmore rocket exploded mid-air and Europe's Spectrum rocket fell back to Earth in March. Fuel leaks, faulty sensors and structural stress, these are microscopic flaws, yet they can unravel billion-dollar missions in seconds. Rocket science demands perfection. Engines firing in microsecond sync, guidance systems reacting faster than thought. That's what makes ISRO's steady methodical success remarkable. Limited budgets, maximum efficiency and a string of hard-won victories. In a year filled with space stumbles, India's launch stands as a proof mastering the sky isn't about size or fortune, it's about precision, patience and vision.
This is also part of a larger global effort by this private company known as AST Space Mobile. It wants to ensure that there are multiple large satellites which serve as mobile towers in space. So wherever on Earth there is no mobile or telecom connectivity, these satellites can communicate directly with smartphones and provide satellite-based internet where no connectivity exists whatsoever, which means that millions of people, if not billions, can come online directly through their smartphones in places where no connectivity infrastructure exists. From Sriharikota, Satish Dhawan Space Center, Siddharth MP, WION The World is one.
Switching gears for now, in a serious escalation with a direct challenge to India's sovereignty, a new Pentagon report has exposed China's continued and expanded claim over Indian territory, this time by formally including Arunachal Pradesh as a Chinese core interest. The annual US Department of Defense report to the Congress making it clear that China has placed India's northeastern state in the same category as Taiwan, the South China Sea, and the Senkaku Islands, areas that China has repeatedly shown it is willing to confront over. This designation is part of the Chinese president's broader strategy of achieving what China calls the great rejuvenation of the Chinese nation by 2049. The report noting that Chinese officials described the unification of contested territories as a natural requirement of this national goal. This statement directly challenges India's territorial integrity. And the Pentagon spells out that China considers three issues, non-negotiable terms: absolute control of the Chinese Communist Party, economic development, and the defense and expansion of its sovereignty claims. And according to the report, India's Arunachal Pradesh now falls squarely into that third category, reportedly. Political voices in Hong Kong, Xinjiang, Tibet, Taiwan are labeled separatist and blamed on so-called external forces. This pattern raises concerns for India as well. The report references developments from October 2024 on the India-China border, when New Delhi and Beijing agreed to disengage from remaining standoff points along the line of actual control. This announcement came days before the meeting between the Chinese president and the Indian Prime Minister at the BRICS summit. That meeting, remember, led to monthly high-level talks covering border management and confidence-building measures like direct flights, visa facilitation, exchanges of academics and journalists. But the Pentagon issuing a clear caution: China is likely using this temporary de-escalation to stabilize ties with India while simultaneously working to prevent a closer strategic partnership between New Delhi and Washington. Adding to India's security concerns is China's rapidly deepening military partnership with Pakistan. The report details Beijing's supply of advanced weapon systems to Islamabad, including combat aircraft and strike-capable drones. As of May 2025, China has delivered 20 J-10C fighter aircraft to Pakistan, with more on order reportedly. Beijing is also seeking to expand its naval exports and is exploring military basing or logistics facilities in countries including Pakistan reportedly. For India, the message from the report is stark and unmistakable. Even as talks continue and disengagements are announced, China is formally hardening its claims over Indian territory and deepening its military footprint in the neighborhood. It postures a big strategic challenge ahead. Before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. Pakistan's Fazlur Rahman exposing Asim Munir's hypocrisy on India. This is coming up next. You don't want to miss this. We get you a complete roundup of how India is fortifying its air and maritime defenses. What is the story behind Britain's pub revolt? What's happening on the ground? We tell you more, all this and lots more coming up.
तमाम शोबों में करप्शन बदनवानियां हैं।
Pakistan's own political leaders holding up the mirror to its army, and what stares back is an uncomfortable truth of hypocrisy and its recent holy rhetoric. Let's break this down for you. Senior Pakistani lawmaker and Jamiat Ulema-e-Islam Fazl chief Maulana Fazlur Rahman has called out Pakistan's double standards on cross-border military actions, drawing a direct parallel with India's Operation Sindoor and its own recent tussle with Afghanistan. Let's play out that statement for you first.
If you say that we have struck at the centers of our enemy and you call this a justified statement, then India tells you, I have attacked Bahawalpur, I have attacked Muridke, I have struck at the centers that were attacking us in Kashmir. Why are you objecting to India?
What you heard there was an indictment coming not from India, not from Afghanistan, not from the West or any other part of the world, but from within Pakistan's own political and religious establishment. It strikes at the very heart of the Pakistan Army's Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir's narrative. A few days ago, and after 7 months since the Pakistan Army failed to achieve its objectives on the battlefield, Asim Munir shifted from facts to faith. Instead of military accountability, Munir has claimed what he called divine help during the May military confrontation with India. We told you about this. But the rhetoric did not even stop there. Speaking recently in Libya, Asim Munir went beyond his role as an army chief, projecting himself as a self-appointed statesman, trying to position Pakistan as a leading security provider for the Muslim world. Maulana Fazlur Rahman's statement cuts through that posturing and rhetoric, exposing the hypocrisy. It exposes what we have been saying for years, that Pakistan's security establishment practices different rules, one set of rules for itself and another for the rest of the world. Terrorism is condemned only when it is convenient. Cross-border strikes are illegal unless Pakistan carries them out on its own. Civilian casualties are tragic unless they occur across Pakistan's own target line. And faith is invoked when facts fail. The United States appears to be edging closer to a direct confrontation in the Caribbean. The Trump administration is expanding its military presence near Venezuela, while Russia and China accuse the U.S. of pushing the region towards crisis. According to a Wall Street Journal report, American special operations aircraft now deployed in the region. At least 10 of those Osprey tilt rotor planes arrived from the Air Force Base in New Mexico, reportedly boosting U.S. capability for rapid missions across the region. At sea, American forces continue seizing tankers and striking suspected drug trafficking boats as part of an expanding blockade effort. Venezuela, backed by Russia and China, called for a second emergency meeting at the United Nations, accusing Washington of unlawful aggression.
There is no war in the Caribbean. There is no international armed conflict. Nor is there a non-international armed conflict. It is therefore absurd for the United States government to attempt to justify its actions by applying the rules of the law of war.
Pueda cumplir a cabalidad su mandato.
U.S. Ambassador to the UN, meanwhile, told the UN Security Council that the single most serious threat to the region is what he described as transnational terrorists and criminal groups. In fact, Russia and China criticized the U.S. tactics at the United Nations, calling it cowboy behavior, intimidation, and one that violates all key norms of international law. Moscow has warned that Washington could soon target other Latin American governments seen as unfriendly, and reports say Russia has started evacuating families of diplomats from Caracas. Listen to this.
The United States has been continuing to deliberately foment tensions around the friendly nation of Venezuela under the pretext of combating drug trafficking and the terrorist threat.
In fact, China echoed those concerns, urging restraint and warning that unilateral sanctions deepen instability.
China opposes all acts of unilateralism and bullying and supports all countries in defending their sovereignty and national dignity.
As the U.S. builds pressure with troops, aircraft, and its rhetoric, the question is whether this standoff stops short or an all-out conflict is imminent. Is the Israeli Prime Minister trying to overthrow Trump's friend al-Sharaa? According to a report by the Wall Street Journal, Israel has provided weapons, intelligence, and cash to militiamen at odds with al-Sharaa's rule. In fact, the report starts off with developments from December 2024. It says that helicopters from Israel began to arrive in southern Syria on December 17, 2024. Just for context here, this was days after the ouster of the former President Bashar al-Assad. Remember, Assad was toppled on December 8, 2024. This was after the offensive led by Sharaa and the Hayat Tahrir al-Sham. The WSJ report says rifles, ammunition, body armor were discreetly airdropped by Israel to arm a Druze militia called the Military Council, according to two former Israeli officials directly involved in the effort, as per the report. But why? As per the report, at the heart of this is the way Israel viewed Sharaa. I'm quoting, profound suspicion. That's how the report describes Israel's sentiment towards him. And the report says the reason behind that suspicion is because Sharaa had led an armed group formerly linked until a decade ago to Al-Qaeda, which is vehemently opposed to Israel's existence, quote unquote. And the report goes on to say that Israel has been trying to shape the developments in Syria by supporting allied Druze militiamen, and that the efforts have basically been aimed at trying to complicate Sharaa's efforts to unify the country after the long civil war there. It says that the covert Israeli supplies were part of a long-running effort to prop up the Druze, according to current and former Israeli officials, reportedly, and that the Washington Post investigation has found that effort continues until today. Let's just take a step back here. What are the larger implications here? What about America's sentiment? The Wall Street Journal report quotes a former senior Pentagon official during the Biden administration as saying, quoting, "There has been growing frustration in Washington that Israeli actions were setting back something most of Washington and everyone in the Middle East would actually like to see succeed. A stabilized, unified Syria, quote unquote." And that in itself describes the huge ramifications of what has been reported there. Among the big questions that arises is, what does all of this mean for the geopolitical dynamics at large, and where do things go from here? Because each move, each development in the region at this point carries far-reaching implications. India continuing to fortify its skies, securing its seas with homegrown technology, with two major defense developments, one against hostile aircraft and missiles, and the other boosting naval power in shallow coastal waters, marking a clear push. In fact, the DRDO has successfully completed user evaluation trials of the next generation Akash missile system. And with these tests, the system moves closer to induction into the armed forces. During the evaluations, the missile system reportedly intercepted multiple types of aerial targets across different distances and altitudes, proving it can respond quickly in both close-range and long-range scenarios. The missile carries an indigenous RF seeker and uses a solid-fuel rocket motor, giving it high speed and precision. The DRDO, with the help of Indian industries, reportedly designed the radar, launcher and command units, making the system largely domestic in origin. With real-time data processing and threat analysis, the platform reportedly can track and engage several incoming targets at once and operate either autonomously or as part of a larger networked air defense grid. On the maritime front, the Navy has received the third anti-submarine warfare shallow water craft built in India. At about 77 meters long, it is the largest Indian warship powered by water jets. The vessel carries lightweight torpedoes, indigenous anti-submarine rockets, advanced sonar to detect and neutralize underwater threats close to shore. It is expected to enhance anti-submarine patrols, coastal surveillance, and mine-laying capability. The ship revives the legacy of the earlier INS Anjadeep and takes its name from the namesake island near Karnataka. And with more than 80% indigenous content, its delivery reinforces India's push towards self-reliance in defense manufacturing. India's message is clear: protect the coastline, guard the skies, all with systems built at home. Great Britain's most ambitious armoured vehicle project in decades is now creating a great crisis for it. The fighting vehicle, designed to transform the British Army's battlefield capabilities, has been grounded again after fresh reports of soldiers falling ill from excessive noise and vibration. This despite repeated government assurances that the problems had been fixed. The latest incidents emerged after a major training exercise on the Salisbury Plain in November, where 31 soldiers reported symptoms including nausea, disorientation and joint pain after spending hours inside the vehicles. Within weeks, the Defence Minister ordered all testing halted following yet another complaint at the Army's training base. The question now being asked across Britain's defence establishment is quite simple. How exactly did a problem identified nearly a decade ago survive years of testing, pauses and reviews and re-emerge just as the vehicle was cleared for service? You see, the warnings came early on. In 2014, the manufacturer, General Dynamics, reportedly itself issued a safety notice about the noise levels. By 2018, the Ministry of Defence had raised its own concerns after crews reported feeling physically sick from vibration during trials. In 2020, a senior Army officer formally warned that soldiers were being injured. The program was paused, investigations were launched, and yet years later, the problems appear to persist. A damning independent review in 2022 found a catastrophic breakdown in communication, with safety concerns either ignored or softened before reaching ministers. The report concluded that progress was repeatedly presented in an unduly optimistic light. Critics say that culture may still be at work. Just weeks before the latest incidents, in fact, the government declared it safe, functional, and ready for duty. At the same time, the program received a Global Project Management Award. Then soldiers fell ill again. General Dynamics reportedly insisting the vehicle is safe, claiming it is one of the most thoroughly tested armoured platforms ever built, and that the company continues to work closely with the Army and the Ministry of Defence. Former Defense Secretary Ben Wallace also defending the project, reportedly saying he threatened to cancel it and withheld payments until progress was made, but others are no longer convinced. Analysts, lawmakers warning that it may have become too big to fail. With too many careers, contracts, and political decisions tied to its survival, scrapping it would be costly, also legally complex, and would leave the army without a clear replacement. Of course, alternatives exist, from Sweden's CV-90 to Germany's armored project as well, even US-made Bradley vehicles, all of which are already in service with allies. But switching now would mean admitting a multi-billion-pound failure. For many soldiers, the debate is less abstract. The core issue, according to them, is trust. Trust that safety comes first. Trust that problems are not buried. Also trust that the vehicle they are asked to fight in will not harm them before the enemy does. The British Army has now launched multiple new investigations with findings expected in the new year. Until then, the future of this platform and what it represents about Britain's defense procurement system remains uncertain, to say the least. What is clear, though, is that this is no longer just an engineering problem. It has become a test of accountability, leadership, and whether Britain is actually willing to fix a broken system or simply power through it. This Christmas season, the festive spirit is taking some surprising forms. From pubs in Britain to streets in Israel, tradition and celebration facing unexpected twists. While many are looking forward to warmth, cheer and the holiday joy, not everyone is finding it in the usual places, it seems. Britain's pubs are serving up a Christmas revolt, and they say Labour MPs are facing the heat. More than 1,000 pubs have now put up signs declaring no Labour MPs. It's a part of a mass protest against business rate hikes announced by the Chancellor. Among the pubs joining the boycott are 3 of Reeves's own local establishments, which have said they will refuse her entry over the holidays. For many Labour MPs, the holiday season usually brings a chance to escape to their local pubs to share a pint and some cheer with colleagues and constituents. Those simple pleasures this year may be hard to come by. Backbenchers have recently reported increasing hostility in the public spaces. This comes amid a plunge in the party ratings from 34% to just 18% over the past 18 months. Even the comfort of a festive pub visit is under threat. In a quieter and yet equally significant shift, Christmas traditions are now seeing new expressions far from Britain's pubs. A recent poll in Israel revealing that 1 in 4 Jewish Israelis either celebrate Christmas or are considering doing so this year, conducted by the Mashav channel. The survey highlights the growing visibility of Christmas markets, decorations and seasonal events across the country. While Christmas is traditionally a Christian holiday, its global popularity has prompted Jews in Israel to reconsider the festive season as a cultural celebration rather than a religious observance. The trend prompts discussion about identity, tradition, and also the boundaries of culture, particularly in light of European history, where Christmas Eve was often marked by caution due to anti-Semitic violence. Christians in Israel still make up only around 2% of the population, mostly Arab Christians in parts like Haifa, Nazareth, and Jerusalem. Yet the holiday's festive spirit is apparently spreading beyond religious lines, bringing light and color to markets and streets. In the UK, investigators are saying they stopped what could have been one of the most devastating terror attacks ever carried out in Britain. A court has found 2 men guilty of planning an Islamic State-inspired gun attack across Jewish locations in Greater Manchester. Prosecutors say the pair tried to arrange the smuggling of assault rifles, an automatic pistol, and nearly 200 rounds of ammunition into the UK. And they sought even more firepower. Counter-terrorism officers reportedly say their explicit goal was to kill as many Jews as possible, with the intention of replicating the 2015 Paris terror attacks, where gunmen and suicide bombers attacked a concert hall, a football stadium, restaurants and bars, almost simultaneously, leaving over 140 dead and more than 400 injured. The British police, working closely with an undercover operative, moved first and foiled the attack plan in May 2024, just 3 months before the attackers intended to strike. This verdict arrives as authorities track a troubling surge in Islamic State-linked violence worldwide. Earlier this month in Sydney, 2 gunmen opened fire during a Hanukkah celebration, killing at least 15 people and injuring over 40. An attack the Islamic State publicly praised. Australian police recovered 2 Islamic State group flags from inside the gunman's vehicle. 2 weeks ago in Syria, an Islamic State gunman ambushed US personnel, killing 2 American soldiers and an American civilian interpreter. 3 American and 2 Syrian service members were also injured in the attack, during which the gunman was engaged and killed, prompting the US to carry out large-scale retaliatory strikes against the ISIS in Syria. Former IPL chief Lalit Modi sparked a major controversy online after sharing a video from Vijay Mallya's birthday celebration in London. In that clip, Lalit Modi is heard referring to himself and Mallya as the 2 biggest fugitives of India, quote unquote. Further saying, we are the 2 fugitives, the biggest fugitives of India, quote unquote.
The 2 fugitives, the biggest fugitives of India.
You know, you're lucky that we haven't brought that photograph with you hanging upside down.
I know.
I asked it for it. We're gonna get it.
I have it.
You have it. Perfect. That's what we're looking for.
Lalit Modi captioned that video with a message appearing to mock critics, saying, I'm quoting, "Let me do something to break the internet down again. Watch your heart out with envy," quote unquote. And that video quickly drew sharp reactions on social media. Several users called it a mockery of the Indian government, while others questioned why these men continue to live abroad despite ongoing legal cases in India. Some commentators even said the video amounted to open derision of India's investigating agencies, including the CBI and the Enforcement Directorate. Also, the timing of the video is significant. Earlier on Monday, the Bombay High Court asked Vijay Mallya when he intends to return to India. The court said it would not hear his challenge to the Fugitive Economic Offenders Act unless he first submits to the court's jurisdiction. Mallya, remember, has been living in the UK since 2016 and has filed petitions challenging both his declaration as a fugitive economic offender and the constitutional validity of the 2018 law itself. Extradition proceedings against him are currently at an advanced stage. Mallya was declared a fugitive economic offender in 2019 over alleged loan defaults and money laundering charges. Lalit Modi, who left India in 2010, is also wanted by the ED in cases linked to alleged tax evasion, money laundering, irregularities in IPL broadcast deals. The viral video has now reignited that debate over accountability, extradition, and whether India's economic offenders continue to mock the system from abroad. On to Japan now, which is facing a surge in deadly bear attacks, the worst on record. And as a surprising result of that, there is a boom in demand for bear meat. Restaurants across the country saying customers are lining up to taste meat from bears, culled to prevent further attacks. Grilled on hot stone slabs, simmered in bubbling hot pots, Bear meat is finding new popularity in Japan following a deadly spike in human-bear encounters there. In the hilly city of Chichibu, near Tokyo, restaurant owners say the demand has surged. The meat comes from bears culled by the authorities to curb the attacks that have already killed 13 people this year, double the previous record. Officials say bears are wandering into neighborhoods, schools, even supermarkets, driven by a growing bear population, shrinking rural communities, and poor harvests that force the animals to search for food. And to respond to this, the Japanese government has deployed troops for trapping and hunting operations. Riot police have also been authorized to shoot bears if necessary. More than 9,100 bears have already been culled in just the first half of this fiscal year, surpassing last year's total. And in the mountain areas, eating bear meat is not new, but interest is rising fast.
The simplest way is to roast it or treat it like a steak. For the belly, shoulder, and tougher cuts, I slowly braise them with red wine together with the tendons and bones until tender, which I'll serve with the sauce.
Authorities now see bear meat as both a safety solution, also an economic opportunity. The government plans to spend $118 million in subsidies to control the bear populations and promote what it calls sustainable consumption.
We use something that would otherwise be buried as garbage, so I think it's better to eat them and enjoy them rather than to just let them die.
Bear meat has become so popular that in some places, restaurant owners say it is already sold out.
You know, especially lately, with news about bears growing, the number of customers who want to eat their meat has increased a lot.
And in other parts like Hokkaido, home to Japan's brown bears, fine dining restaurants are embracing it in their menu. They say customers are more curious than ever.
It's much tastier than I expected. Compared to the amount of umami that comes out is completely different. It tastes so juicy, a lot juicier in general.
Maybe part of it is that I want to eat it because it's rare. You can eat chicken or beef anytime, over and over again. But with this, you can only eat it if you come here, to a place like this. So it's more like, I want to try it. I guess I am someone who likes rare or unusual things.
Brown bears live only in Hokkaido, where their population has doubled in 3 decades to more than 11,500. Authorities now plan to cull 1,200 bears annually over the next 10 years. But much of the meat still goes to waste due to a shortage of approved processing facilities. For now, Japan is walking a rather thin line, balancing wildlife protection and an unexpected culinary trend born out of the crisis. On to China, which is taking moral policing to the digital realm. Starting the 1st of January, the Chinese government will be banning the sharing of obscene content in private online messages, with heavier penalties for sending pornographic material. This revision is aimed at cleaning up the internet and will apply to messages on WeChat, China's social media platform. It focuses particularly on cases involving minors. Offenders can face detention for up to 15 days and fines of up to $700. Beijing saying the new rules are not just about law, but also about morality, reflecting the government's broader push to control online content and ensure a clean and safe digital environment. But experts are warning the regulations could be interpreted very broadly and potentially allow state power to intrude into private lives. The move comes in the aftermath of a summer controversy where a chat group on Telegram, known as Mask Park, was found distributing sexually explicit photos of women without their consent. And advocates say the case highlights deep-seated issues of gender inequality, with women often objectified online and activists facing silencing under the current political climate. China has long banned pornography, but this revision seeks to close regulatory gaps as technology makes sharing more diverse and widespread. Critics are warning that consensual private messages could also be caught in the new legal net and raises concerns about the limits of privacy in a state-regulated digital space. For China, this is more than just a legal move. It's moral policing going digital to a whole new level, where even private online interactions could come under the scrutiny of the state. As the countdown to Christmas starts, Christmas Eve becoming more special for millions of children across the world, an initiative of the US and Canadian militaries endeavors to bring Santa Claus closer to you. A joint American-Canadian organization ordinarily responsible for detection and warning of attack against North America. On Christmas Eve, they have the enviable task of tracking Santa Claus as he makes his journey around the world. And now the reason behind the initiative, it all started with an inadvertent call. This dates back to 1955. When a young child trying to reach Santa misdialed a number from an ad in a newspaper. Guess what happened next? The child ended up calling the Continental Air Defense Command Operations Center. But the Air Force colonel who addressed the phone call did not want to disappoint that child, and he told the child where Santa was. This tradition has carried on for 70 years. The responsibility for the Santa tracker was passed on to NORAD post its formation in 1958. Officially known as NORAD Track Santa, this initiative has an official website which gets close to 7 million unique views every year. NORAD Santa Operations Center will be fully functional all throughout the day on December 24 at the Peterson Space Force Base in Colorado. Children can call on a dedicated phone number to directly speak to a Santa tracker who will reveal his current location. Over 1,000 military personnel and civilians will volunteer to answer thousands of phone calls coming in from around the world. Weighing in on the Santa tracker, the chief Pentagon spokesperson opened up on it and also said that this has become a joyous occasion for families. He added that the US War Department is excited to continue with the tradition. The initiative implies that the festive season has just got all the more exciting. Over to the cricket world now. England skipper Ben Stokes has come in the defence of his teammates amid claims of excessive drinking on a mid-Ashes beach break. A video that appears to show England's Ben Duckett allegedly drunk during the squad's break has also surfaced on social media. A video of England opener Ben Duckett appeared on social media coming hours after England's managing director confirmed there would be an investigation into the team's trip between the second and third Ashes tests. In the video posted on X, Duckett is seen talking to a group of people where a woman asks if he knows how to get home. He replies, no, and appears disoriented as the conversation continues. Ben Duckett has struggled in the Ashes series, scoring just 97 runs at an average of 16.16. He has the lowest figures among England's specialist batters with a highest score of 29. Amid the controversy now, Ben Stokes has voiced his support for his team, saying that protecting England players' mental health was his top concern. Stokes has been open about the mental health issues he has faced during his career and took a lengthy break from cricket in 2021 to focus on his well-being. And that followed his trial on charges of a fray after being involved in a street brawl in Bristol in 2017, video of which appeared on social media.
My main concern right now was my players. How I handle this moment right now is the most important thing to me. I have first-hand experience of what this can, how it can affect people. And as I said, my role as England captain is to protect my players as much as I possibly can.
The England squad spent 4 nights on the resort town of Noosa. This came just after their defeat in the second Ashes test in Brisbane. It was officially described as a break by the team management and was conceived by the head coach himself reportedly. The Kiwi said it was excellent and would allow England to head into the third test feeling fresh. However, the trip did not have the desired effect as England fell to another defeat. Pressure has been rising on the head coach from the British media, with some outlets describing the break as similar to a bachelor's party. England's director of cricket, meanwhile, did not travel to Noosa and has confirmed that an investigation will be launched into the players' conduct during the trip. The loss to Australia in the Adelaide Test means England are 3-0 down in the 5-match series. It also condemns England to another series defeat in Australia and extends their way to regain the Ashes for the first time since 2017. The manner of England's defeat in the 3 tests has also raised questions about the squad and their coaching staff's decision-making. Remember, those 3 defeats have come across just 11 days of cricket. As the world marks Christmas, celebrations unfolding against very different backdrops. From the return of festive traditions in Bethlehem after years of war to moments of remembrance for the fallen soldiers of the Ukraine war in their own way, each of these moments speaking to pretty much the same thing, the strength of the human spirit and the power that hope has even in these difficult times. And from all of us here at WION, we are wishing you a peaceful and a Merry Christmas.
India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is one.
Where darkness hides behind every corner. Where the truth is stranger than fiction. A show that dives deep into the stories which shock and mystify. Unsolved murders. Psychopaths who defy explanation. International war crimes, and millions swindled in financial fraud. The victims, the accused, and the sinister plot. Crime is your front row seat to darkness.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh. To some, it's an extreme ideology. To others, it's the very soul of India. To some, it's rebellion. To others, it's a principle of nation building. Coming soon to challenge perceptions in RSS centenary year, Kesariya at 100.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because